Hi, welcome to the classroom, exploring education. From challenges, skills, opportunities to growth, we all get tested with various problems to solve and opportunities as teachers, which then help us to grow. And at some point, we just need a platform where we can just sit down, relax, talk, and share ideas. Now, the goal of the classroom is to talk about education, on what's new, how to move forward, how to overcome challenges in a teaching profession, and anything education related. Sharp with it. It's your boy Hopola Mofokeng from the classroom where we explore education. And on today's podcast, I'm here to give you an overview of the research paper that I did in my final year at the University of Johannesburg while studying towards my B.Ed degree in foundation phase. And I'll just be giving you a short brief on what the paper was all about, the research question, the aim, the objectives, the research methodology, also to include the results, recommendations, and the conclusion of the study. And knowledge, skills, values, and attitude needed for a teacher to thrive in the VUCA world. The purpose of this research paper was to investigate the basic skills, knowledge, values, and attitude that the teachers of tomorrow need in order for them to stay relevant in the VUCA world and produce outstanding outcomes with the learners. The education system in the future depends on the learners and the teachers, as they have to sustain abilities to survive the transition of the world. Fundamental skills, values, attitude, and knowledge are essential for teachers in order to survive the VUCA world and to produce outstanding results with their learners. Teachers are expected to deliver knowledge through instructions and evaluation. Also recognize learners' wider set of relationships. Now, research based on the fourth industrial revolution and the VUCA world suggests that there is and must be a clear consensus that new approaches to learning must accommodate the characteristics of today's teaching and learning, which highlights that teachers currently do not possess certain characteristics in order to sustain them in the upcoming generation, as the fourth industrial revolution has affected the people, government, school, business, society, and every sector in the world, which challenges and gives opportunities. Now, this is occurring through the transition of the world. In order for me to go into this particular research, is that teachers cannot cope with technology as they do not possess necessary 21st century skills to help them survive. Currently, teachers do not possess skills such as communication, critical thinking, ICT knowledge skills. On the higher note, also looking at the current state of the pandemic, and also technology and also training and resources are a lack in our public schools nationwide. Also, there's also corruption and lack of good leaders in the schools. Now, the study will make sure to highlight what is needed for teachers in the future, as the fourth industrial revolution has put a change and affected every sector throughout, technologically and also other improvements in the education system. Now, getting into the research methodology of the paper, the overall design, methods, and procedures of the paper were chosen by the researcher, which are vital for the effectiveness, validity, and reliability of the study. Well, I guess it wouldn't be published if it wasn't according to the ethical considerations. Well, a generic qualitative design was chosen for this particular research because now it focuses on the practical side of education and how to apply the skills and the knowledge that teachers need, and also the grounded theory was also used. And in order to gather around the data and the information, interviews were used, in which 4 participants were randomly selected from
the University of Pretoria, amongst the fourth year pre-service teachers, and they were allocated to each student, which were 4 participants, and we managed to do interviews through online platforms because of the pandemic. And now, with gathering the data and everything, I coded the data, and basically, according to relevant key features and keywords that kept on reoccurring, and identified themes, and also the analysis of the qualitative data through grounded theory, thematic analysis. The analysis of the data, the themes that came about was ideal teacher characteristics, with being an ideal teacher, surviving the changing world, which is the impact of the 4IR, COVID-19, and the VUCA world on the South African education system. Skills and attitude, competencies and 21st century skills that teachers need. Knowledge in terms of surviving in the teaching profession, values, ethics, principles, and responsibilities in the teaching profession. School leadership, positive impact on school leadership and all educational systems. Now, there were various findings in all the themes that an ideal teacher should possess patience, kindness, communication skills, collaborative skills, among other skills which are vital in order to consider yourself as an ideal teacher, which is being flexible and also inclusive, confident, and care for the learner's learning. And teachers are lacking in schools due to corruption and lack of resources. That's what we found. And now there needs to be more training for teachers, and so that the learners can also benefit from it. And the COVID-19 VUCA world and the 4IR has actually pushed the government in order to do better for our schools. And teachers should also possess communication, creativity, critical thinking, collaborative skills, amongst problem solving and ICT knowledge skills. And teachers should also understand the concept of metacognition, and also being flexible, adaptive, and also having a positive attitude, curiosity, social and emotional skills, and also a positive attitude towards the process of teaching and learning. And now, with the concept of knowledge, teachers should have the knowledge of subject and the knowledge of the learners, and the knowledge of profession, and also timing, and among other knowledge in the teaching profession. And they should also have the knowledge of strategies to use in the classroom and outside of the classroom with the learners, and understand philosophies and theories in order to be able to apply them and understand how the learners are developed. In terms of values, the teachers should have respect, and respect goes both ways, from teachers and the learners. And there should also be a teacher that's accountable, professional, and exhibits fairness in the teaching profession, and also have a good work ethic and be trustworthy, among other values that the teacher should carry in the teaching profession. And with all the necessary skills, values, attitude, and values, the teachers get to have a positive and good school leadership in their work environment, and that ends up with having a good management and better transition from what you guys are in that school to what you are striving for to be. With the results gathered from the research paper, I recommend that there should be more workshops and programs in order to train the teachers, and for them to actually be equipped and be trained on how to survive in the VUCA world. And also, I would recommend that to identify, there should be a way to identify effective ways of preparing and training teachers for the VUCA world. And also, research should also explore the impact of certain skills, values, and attitude that the teachers need on the learners' progress in schools. And in conclusion, this research paper explored the basic skills knowledge, values, and attitude that the teachers of tomorrow need in order to stay relevant in the VUCA world. And the data was gathered through interviews using a grounded theory and also a qualitative research. um, was the head on in the research methodology, and also the guidance of this whole research paper. Well, the blueprint was the OECD conceptual framework for education 2030. And now teachers need all the preparation and resources in order to be ready for the changing world and be able to provide quality education to the learners. Thank you for tuning in into this episode of The Classroom, and go and read the article just to find out more on what is there for teachers and what they actually need and how they can actually gather out that information. And yeah, thank you for tuning in into The Classroom, where we explore education. Catch you next week on the next episode.